Welcome to the weekly live broadcast of Turtle WoW News with Vrograg. I'm your news anchor orc, Vrograg Fishlayer, here to bring you all the top server news for the week of March 25th, 2025. I'm the orc, and here's the news. Right now, the Turtle WoW community is awaiting the much anticipated Upper Tower of Karazhan patch set to be released on April 3rd. This has largely left much of the team scrambling during the remaining days to get everything in order before the new patch. So, while much of what the developers have been up to is understood, one part of the Turtle team has been stepping up their game in a major way: the radio team. If you're listening to this on the radio, which you're not, you're watching it, but if you have listened to the radio, you probably already know. But there are some new developments you may not be aware of. First, there are several new shows being aired on the radio. You have your normal staples, like lore scroll readings. You also have Living in the Past, Under the Shell, and Turtle WoW News with yours truly. They're continuing regular production. The musical playlist is starting to get regular updates, however, and it has really livened up the vibes. There are a few new shows that have started airing in the last month or so as well. Every other Wednesday at 2300 server time, a live broadcast goes out from the likes of DJ Nosferos with the Pilgrim of the Signal program. It features industrial darkwave music and stories from all over Turtle WoW. Joining the lineup of live DJ shows is Tavern Talks with Shiel, who plays a variety of folk metal, punk, and EDM, along with lighthearted stories to help you unwind while playing. The show is scheduled to air every third Wednesday of the month at 1300 server time. Just this last week, the most recent new show to join the radio lineup aired, Pardon the Pummel, where YouTuber Nixium and yours truly engage in some lively back and forth, speaking about current affairs in the WoW landscape. Expect new monthly broadcasts of the show as we delve deeper into what it truly means to love old school WoW. Now, if you're anything like me, you're probably a little frustrated. Live programming is hard to catch. Pre-recorded shows like this one don't have a set schedule. Live DJ shows come and go, and even the pre-recorded shows can be hard to catch. However, keep in mind there are a number of ways to catch these unique broadcasts. Many of the staple shows are eventually uploaded to the Everlook Radio YouTube channel. But there are even some other exciting new ways to catch things live you may not even be aware of. Currently, Turtle WoW Radio is available through the main Turtle WoW webpage, and you no longer need to be signed in to listen. If you look to the future, there are even more developments for the radio as well. First, I have it on good authority that Turtle WoW is officially in the process of getting a license to legitimately conduct public internet radio broadcasts. And not only that, but also in development is an actual Android application to listen to the radio from any mobile device without needing to navigate through your browser to listen in. So spread the word. Turtle WoW Radio is unique and a special facet of our community. It's free and freely shared, even for people outside of the community. There are many talented people, not like me, but they exist, who contribute to the radio, and deserve recognition for the work they do to bring something special to this little corner of the internet. In other news errata, while the developers are busy at work with the final touches on the patch, I would be remiss if I didn't mention a peculiar video sent out by the Turtle team this last week on the official Twitter account. With a surprising amount of production value, a video was posted which said, "Hey, at Warcraft, we've made the perfect soundtrack for your player housing. Those keeping up with retail WoW might be aware that they recently announced measures to introduce player housing. Turtle WoW's response, evidently, was a 3.5-minute long musical mix of a classic WoW track in the style of The Sims music and a video showing a human cabin being decorated and used like it was also part of the Sims game. I don't think I will ever truly understand what is going on in the minds of the Turtle team, other than knowing that some of them must certainly enjoy The Sims. Was it meant as a high-effort troll, or genuine appreciation for player housing finally in official WoW? Either way, I think developer crunch might be getting to them, if this is any side of insanity. So, for strange posts like this, as well as teasers for new content and announcements, always stay plugged in to official Turtle WoW social media. That is all the time we have for top news this week. Next up, we have Market Watch. Welcome to Market Watch for this week. I'm your market analyst, Vrograg Fishlayer. All our data is gathered from numbers provided by WoWauctions.net, the industry leader in auction house reports. I throw it all together to make indexes of the various market sectors, as well as the S&P 200, an index of the 200 biggest and most influential commodities in the economy. So let's get to the markets. Over on Tel'abim, both the Alliance and Horde markets came down in value this week. The Alliance lost 16% to 4 gold 71, while the Horde fell only 3% to 5 gold 83. The Horde market is back to keeping around a 1 gold value lead over the Alliance market, and despite the recent losses, both markets seem to be gaining steam going into April over the last month. The Nordanaar S&V this week gained a lot of steam in anticipation for the Kara 40 patch, up 9% to 8 gold 53. Over the last month, the index has been steadily gaining upward momentum, trend lines showing 11% growth expected based off last month's data alone. 2 weeks ago, I mentioned in passing that it looked like the herbalism market on Nordanaar had finally flattened out after nearly a year of losing value. So, how is herbalism doing recently across the servers? Surprisingly, the markets for herbalism on Tel'abim are relatively more stable than Nordanaar in the last month. The Alliance herbalists have been trending flat around the 90 silver mark, while the Horde are doing likewise, though with a little bit more volatility. Looking at Nordanaar, however, this last month, herbalists have been actually seeing a noticeable price increase, up 8% to 1 gold 96. However, putting this in the context of last year does show that while it might take a while for Nordanaar herbalists to regain their former riches. Arcane essences have been in the crosshairs of a lot of speculation for their usage in arcane resistance gear, with both Nordanaar and Tel'abim will need. On the PvP server, the Alliance saw a big jump in price on the 14th, but it has since mellowed out to around 14 gold per essence. The Horde on Tel'abim pretty much followed suit, with a similar jump in price on the 14th and mediation of price to just under 16 gold. On Nordanaar, however, the price jumped around the 14th, but it is showing no signs of slowing down, now at 18 gold per essence. This could be the first warning signs of a runaway price on Nordanaar, so buyers make sure to beware. Before we wrap up Market Watch, we'll take a look over at shell coins to see how they've been doing on the servers. Nordanaar shell coin remained flat, trading at 23 gold 97, and in the last 30 days is up less than 1%. Tel'abim shell coin gained 10 silver this week, closing at 10 gold 98, and on the month is up 5%. I'll always advise against buying into the shell game of shell coin, but I suppose nothing risked is nothing gained. That is all I have for Market Watch this week. I hope you found some of the information here useful. Make sure to use wowauctions.net for all of your own market research. Remember to keep an eye on your coin, otherwise someone else will for you. Now, let's check out the Community Bulletin. Here is this week's Community Bulletin, a posting and celebration of player-made events and going-ons in your Turtle community. Let's see what the players have been up to. A quick update on the leading hardcore raiding scene from the likes of Hard Chores. News came in this week that the guild, which has suffered a bit of a stopping point in their AQ 40 progression from a lack of sufficiently geared warlock tanks to engage with the Twin Emperors encounter. Rather than dwell on this perceived setback, the mortal-only raid team chose to try their luck in Naxxramas of all places. The team took down Noth the Plaguebringer, which is one of the easier bosses to complete in the Dread Citadel. It would seem right now that the team might try and cherry-pick a few bosses in Naxxramas, but remain dedicated to focusing on AQ 40 once their Warlock roster and gearing is suitable once more. Congratulations to them on their first Tier 3 victory, and best of luck in their future endeavors. Over in the roleplay world, I received word that the Night Song Sentinels recently came across a corrupted ancient by the name of Old Apple Branch, trying to enter Ashenvale from Felwood. Evidently, the old walking tree was confused and lost due to unknowingly being subject to the corruption in Felwood. But Captain Sedalia Blade Whisper was able to talk down the hulking spirit and help them rest once more. Afterwards, the Sentinels did some work to cleanse the surrounding Iron Branch glade, and the apples from the Ancient, which are to one day become treants, are now cleansed as well. Well done, Sentinels. This coming week, there are all kinds of roleplay activities available from the likes of Lion Pride Legion and the Anvil Breakers, and many more who will be posting throughout the week, so remember to keep an eye on the event channel. One final note for RP postings, this Saturday the 29th will be the monthly Turtle WoW Fair. This month it will be hosted over in the northern reaches of the Echo Isles. The Turtle Fair is a perfect place for new role players and veterans to congregate. All are welcome and can expect live performances, games, storytelling, concessions, and more. If you're interested in the shindig, it starts at 3 p.m. server time, and summons will be available. That's all we have for this week's Community Bulletin. As always, keep an eye out on the event channel to keep on top of any fun and exciting new events happening in your community. Now, let's take a look at the changelog roundup for this week. We have 2 changelogs to skim through, one for the development on Turtle 2.0 and Unreal Azeroth, and then we'll switch over to the normal weekly live server changelog for the week. First, let's see how Unreal Azeroth is coming along with this week's changelog roundup. This week's Unreal Azeroth changelog had a lot of text and a handful of changes, so the development train pushes forward. I went ahead to ask for some clarification and, as usual, learned a good deal so I can bring all that information to you. The log I received had a long preamble about what the Unreal Azeroth team is calling Glue XML. My understanding about this is that it is the primary user interface for selecting characters, realms, and the login screen. For now, Cenarius tells me much of what is there is in vanilla is plain to stay, including the 20+ years old opening cinematics, which are surprisingly tricky to work with as it turns out. Furthermore, there is word that the login will have a two-factor authentication system baked in, which is always nice in the legally gray area that private servers live in. This week, there were 2 notes about what are called transports. Roughly translated from developer speak, these are things like elevators when referenced as local, and world transports when referenced are things like trams and zeppelins. Also getting some work were text renderings and what are known as UI input events. You might take such normalized features as hitting the enter button when logging in for granted, but even something as simple as this needs to be coded into the system. Before we move on, I wanted to mention that there is a project in the works to get a more full picture of the development landscape of Turtle 2.0. I appreciate viewers' patience with only getting a piece of the larger puzzle when trying to understand the larger picture at work. I'll be sure to keep everyone appraised about any news in this regard, and with any luck, we'll be able to see for ourselves what is already done and what still needs to be worked on, so we can all recognize Unreal Azeroth team's efforts so far. Alright, that's all for this week's check-in with the Unreal Azeroth team. Now let's go over to new changes coming to the live server. This week we'll be looking at the changelog from March 17th, which had just 10 changes, likely due in part to the team being focused right now on getting the patch to release on time and bug-free. So, let's check out what's new in the game. Warlocks were happy to get confirmation from their more tolerant allies that their demons would no longer be subject to scaling raid rules. In the past, priests from both Horde and Alliance would beg aid from the Light to ensure that they would still have a chance of victory even if they didn't have a full 40-person raiding party. The Light, which recognizes the Horde and Alliance in a non-denominational way, would use its power to weaken raid bosses to be proportional, or scale, with the number of raiders brought to bear under 40 people. However, the Light doesn't enjoy working with demons, and as such, categorized Warlock's greater demons as enemies, despite them working towards a common enemy. This amounted to those greater demons hitting a lot less hard in the sub 40-person raids. However, after some slick oratory and a little bit of begging, Agents of the Light recognized the greater threat that some raid bosses bear to life in Azeroth and have lifted this restriction on greater demons. A comical error recently was corrected from the likes of the various fashion vendors around Azeroth. Recently, a set of see-through clothing for the chest, leg, and wrist slots was released to the public to help better customize player transmog appearances and aid in Little Karen's crusade for nudity. However, due to the fact that the items were so see-through, it seemed that they forgot to also be bind-on pickup for those that purchased them. Fashionistas reached out to various mage organizations to help them invisibly mark the sheer fabric so that it could be tracked. The clothing itself is quite expensive to make, and players were just passing around the nearly invisible items to fill out their transmog collection, which left the fashionistas out a good deal of gold. Furthermore, the weaves of invisibility magic that had also had an unintended side effect of hiding players' underwear, which has since been rectified after a good deal of public embarrassment. For now, the vanishing underwear has been reversed and items should be bind-on pickup as originally intended. And finally, a complaint was heard before the multi-denomination Mage Council in regards to arcane missiles and icicles. These two spells stand apart from most of the mage offensive arsenal as single-target channeled spells, rather than a casted spell. However, some particularly observant mages noticed that when trying to cast either of these channeled spells on an opponent that moved out of range, it would still activate their global cooldown as if they had successfully began the channel. As it turns out, the process of speaking the verbal component of the spell was enough to start the global cooldown, but this would happen before the spell checked for range. To correct the matter, mages have been instructed to commit to the somatic component of the channeled spell first before speaking any words of power, and since the problem has abated. That completes the changelog brief for last week. This week's changelog may be out soon, so make sure to check it out so you can keep on top of all the latest adjustments coming to Turtle WoW. That's all the time we have for today's broadcast. I've been Vrograg Fishlayer. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, make sure to subscribe and like the video. I air these live broadcasts on Tuesdays, 4:30 p.m. EST, so if you'd like to watch as the news is made, be sure to drop by. Until next time, be good to one another and stay informed, because the deadliest weapon is knowledge.